Hi, and welcome to the Warrior Moms podcast. I'm your host, Trina Rothman, and tonight's guest is Tonja Moon. Tonja has a health, and she's a certified health coach, and she's here tonight to talk about um, proper nutrition for your teenage girl. But before we get started, I just wanted to make a couple of announcements. We are working very hard to create a place within the Warrior Moms community that allows people to go and find various foundations, or nonprofits that could help you. So far we have 4 nonprofits listed, but if you know of any other nonprofit that we can add to the list, please do so. And please do so. Send me a private message or comment. If you're a member of the Warrior Moms community, just find the thread within there and comment so I can go ahead and have that knowledge or have that place there. So that way in the future, if anybody wants to, needs help, finding somebody to help pay for a medical alert bracelet, we have that kind of connection. So this is just another tool to help you guys be able to go about your warrior journey with less stress. So that all being said, Tonja is here tonight. This is normally we focus on the special needs community, but we are firm believers that everybody is a warrior. It doesn't matter what qualifies them for their journey. Everybody has battles that they face, and so we are not excluding anyone. And so tonight, this is a show for anyone who has a teenage daughter, or I guess a teenager, really. So Tonja, tell us a little bit about your story, because you've got a great story prior to becoming a coach.
Yeah, thank you. So super excited to be here. I'm a mom of a teenage daughter, so you have to be a warrior just in that realm, period, right? So my story of a health coach just goes back not too long ago. I actually worked in hospice at the bedside for over 10 years. So I was a liaison between the medical community and the family. And so I was very accustomed to death and dying and walking families through that entire process. So from a health perspective, you would think that someone that witnessed some of the things that I did very up close and personal would know all about health and really taking care of yourself. Well, health comes at a big cost sometimes. And for me, the cost of my health was in climbing the corporate ladder. I traveled constantly. I managed an enormous team of very talented people, and I worked in a very high stress capacity job. And my doctor told me when I went in to have some blood work done that it was my draw a line in the sand moment with my health, that I was on the verge of a massive stroke at the ripe old age of 47, that I had fatty liver disease, that my blood sugars were uncontrollable, as well as my blood pressure was uncontrollable even on medication. So that was a really big shock to the system. And then she said to me, if you keep this up with your health, you will not see your daughter graduate from high school. So at the time, my daughter was 13. She was a freshman, and that just rocked my world. So I had done every diet program known to man. If there was a pill to be ordered on the internet, I ordered it. If there was a drink to drink, I drank it. If there was a shot to take, I took it, and my husband too. So I connected with a friend of mine who lost a lot of weight on an amazing program. And my husband and I both got on the program. We lost 100 pounds together in 4.5 months. And I felt the tug of God tell me, listen, you have helped people die with dignity long enough. Now you're going to help them live. And so things aligned, and I launched my health coaching business about a year ago. And I help people get healthy all across the country. And I've really begun to focus on teens and teen obesity. I'm the mom of a 15-year-old daughter who is 6'2". She is an athlete. So the conversations around nutrition are always happening in our house. And, we do the best that we can. It's difficult. Sugar is our nemesis and our beast. So I fight it with my own daughter, just like everybody else does, and it's definitely, it's a very, very difficult task to overcome when you start talking about getting teens healthy.
Absolutely. And when we were talking prior to this show, I told you that looking back, my unhealthy habits for eating and coping, that all manifested in my teenage years. And
Yeah.
as an adult, I struggle with it just the same as you. Like you said, if there was a drink out there to drink it, I drank it, and
Yeah.
a pill, I mean, I've done everything that I could possibly do. Even, just like, and counting calories when you're starving yourself because you don't want to go over 1,200 calories. And none of it is a great mindset. It's all temporary Band-Aid fix for habits and thought processes that I developed when I was a teenager. So
Yeah.
I love that you're doing this, because I'm a mom of a teenager as well. My daughter is 14, and we keep my daughter on the modified Atkins diet for epilepsy control. But we don't want to instill these thoughts in her that things are bad foods. There's a bad food
Right.
groups. We want to do all these. We want to build healthy habits because I didn't have them, and I don't want her to grow up to be the same insecure adult that I was. So I love what you're doing here. And you sent me a document that you used, and it says 1 in 4 teen girls between the ages of 12 and 19 is considered to be obese in the United States. So something else that's on here is that sugar is just as addictive as cocaine. And you and I talked about this. Like, I think quitting sugar, because I'm a former smoker, I think quitting sugar is significantly harder than when I tried to quit smoking. So what do you tell your families about sugar addiction?
Well, I think the very first thing is to recognize that it's just that, it's an addiction. And so to think that we can have a conversation with our teen, or even ourselves, frankly, for that matter, and think, I'm just going to wake up today and quit sugar. First of all, not all sugar is bad. Refined sugar is extremely, extremely difficult on our bodies. We can talk about that. But, if I were to tell my 15-year-old, no more sweets for you, after the eye rolls stopped, right? She would just kind of look at me like I was crazy. I mean, these conversations are so hard to have with our teens. When I first started studying nutrition, and part of my story reverts back to, I was a fast food junkie. I mean, I started my day at Starbucks. My lunch was typically Chick-fil-A or Whataburger. And then later in the day, I was eating out with either clients or physicians, really very rich, high calorie food. And so my entire profession was all around, what are we going to eat? Our kids, especially teens, a lot of their socializing is all around sugar, right? Walk into any Starbucks pre-COVID. If you can even get to the counter, you got to go through the teenagers. I mean, that has become their gathering place. And I'm not knocking Starbucks, but I'm just saying that the one thing I think that has helped us in our family so much is to just have the conversation about sugar. And when I'm talking to my daughter and telling her, did you realize that if you were to take cocaine, the chemicals that are released in your brain from cocaine are the same exact chemicals that are released when you ingest sugar? And it's like, well, Mom, I wouldn't do cocaine. I'm like, no, I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is, that's how difficult it is. That's how difficult of an addiction it is. And, we've got brain scans that even prove that. And it's just crazy. Something that's interesting to me, it even goes back to just toddlers. Toddlers recognize the Golden Arches logo before they recognize their own name being written on a piece of paper. So I point the finger right back at myself, right? I was also the mom who's driving down the street, who's got a million things going on, and her kid's screaming in the back seat, and I'm handing her a French fry saying, it'll be okay, we'll be home in a minute, And so when you take all of that and you put on top of the social peer pressures that our teen daughters go through these days, and you look at social media and Instagram and gaming, you look at all of these things, and now I think in some degrees, COVID has even made it worse, because I don't know about anybody else out there, but DoorDash and Uber Eats has become like this instantaneous, oh, you can't leave. Well, here you go. Here's all the stuff just delivered right to your doorstep, you know? And so we have this avenue, just like we love Amazon, we have it for food. We don't even have to leave to go to the drive-through anymore. So something that I did with my daughter was, after I learned, you know, how much sugar a grown woman should intake and how much sugar a man should intake, is just take one meal that your child eats and have them in the kitchen with you and actually measure out spoonfuls of sugar into a bowl. So if your child eats, let's say, cereal and a cup of milk and maybe some orange juice, if you look on the package and you have a bag of sugar and you let them spoon out from the bag of sugar into a bowl, just what they're eating right there, it could be up to 12 to 13 teaspoons of sugar in one meal. That was when my daughter was like, oh my gosh. Because if you tell your kid, look, just eat everything sugar-free, that's not going to work, right? And really letting our kids know, especially our teens, and I see it more with teen girls than I do teen boys. Teen boys will plow through whatever you put in front of them for the most part. I think that teen girls can be a little pickier. Not that teen boys aren't, but typically teen boys that I work with, they stick to plan, they're really good, and girls are much more emotional about it. But I came at my daughter with the perspective of, hey, I really need to start watching the amount of sugar that I intake, because I've been doing a lot of research and studies on inflammation and these stomach issues that I'm having, and thinking it's relating to sugar. Can you help me? And she was like, well, yeah. So I turned it around and I made it more about me and you helping mom, instead of making it about her, because I don't want her counting calories and being all consumed with everything that she's eating, because that's not healthy. So I think, you know, just like most moms, if we take that and put the onus on us or on the family, then it's easier for our daughters to help us. And in turn, it helps them. So now we're to the point that she understands that food manufacturers, there is very little oversight on food labeling. For example, a food manufacturer can put sugar-free right on the front of a package and it not be sugar-free, because food manufacturers have 75 different names for sugar. So for someone who doesn't do this like I do day in and day out, to go into the grocery store with great intentions and fill your cart with sugar-free things or gluten-free things, it's just not enough, unfortunately. So I did a little experiment with my daughter in HEB, actually, and I got chicken broth. And if you go on my Facebook page and scroll a few weeks ago, you'll see it. There was HEB chicken broth on the shelf, and both were HEB brands, and right next to each other, they were packaged differently, but one said less sugar and one said low sodium. And then the other package said 30% less sodium. And so we got both of them and we turned them over, and I said, Cameron, just by looking at the packaging, which do you think is healthier? She chose the most expensive one, right? Makes sense. And the one that had 30% less sodium, a banner right across the top. And it was a great exercise, because I said, 30% less than what? She was like, well, I don't know, Mom, what do you think? And I said, I have no idea. So let's turn it over and look at the amounts of sodium. One had 65 grams of sodium, and the other one that was packaged to look healthier had 520 milligrams of sodium. Crazy. It was insane. I mean, and I work in this all day long. And she was like, Mom, they're lying. And I said, yeah. If you go home and you're trying to prepare a healthy meal, and for someone who has inflammation issues, after you eat that meal and an hour and a half to 2 hours later, your hands and your joints start hurting, it's because you've ingested like 5 times the amount of sodium that we need. And so sugar is exactly the same way. So sugar-free on packaging does not mean sugar-free. And that's really difficult. And so to go into the grocery store and have your kids say, hey, let's find some healthy snacks. Here's a list, and I have it. I'm happy to send it out. 75 different names for sugar. I challenge you to find something healthy on this list with none of these on it. It's impossible. You can't do it. But you can find all kinds of stuff that say sugar-free. But sugar-free doesn't mean sugar-free. And so I think that once my daughter started understanding that a little bit, then it was really all about more about the labeling and more about, you've really got to kind of know what you're looking at. You know, I mean, because the cute packaging that says gluten-free and sugar-free, it's really, it's false advertising. It just, the food industry is designed to sell, right? And it's a business. And so sugar-free labeling sells, but sugar-free doesn't mean sugar-free. So can I show you something interesting real quick?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think this is something that all moms can totally relate to. I'm going to see if my camera will work here. Okay. Everybody see this? Chick-fil-A sauce. So how many of us have had, you know, our kids get this? This is the yummy kind. This is the, you know, little orangey kind that you can get with the nuggets. So Chick-fil-A sauce. We love this because the little serving size is so awesome, especially in the car. You know, you ever try to use those dumb ketchup packets in the car and they get everywhere, you can't do it? Okay, so Chick-fil-A is so awesome. And I love Chick-fil-A, by the way. And they do have very healthy options. And we love the ketchup because you can dip and squeeze. Okay. This right here, just this, and I'm looking at my notes to make sure I get it right. 6 grams of sugar. 6 grams. Okay. My daughter can get the 8-piece count of nuggets and use 2 of these. Okay.
Okay.
12 grams of sugar. That is half of the allotted amount a grown woman should have of sugar in a day. 2 of these.
And just the sauce.
So that's what we're trying to overcome with our kids, right? So our conversation is, she's like, Mom, you know, I love that sauce. I'm like, I know. So let's think about the options. You want the fried nuggets or the grilled nuggets? It's your choice. And if you want the fried, get the fried. Just know that 2 of these is half of what a grown woman should have in a day for just sugar. And so doing little exercises like that go a lot further than trying to sit down and have a sugar talk, because I did that and failed dramatically because, you know, Mom's a health coach. Well, that went over like a lead balloon. So just little tiny things like that. That's where we see a better, or at least where I see as a health coach, better impact with teens, because them just listening to a talk about sugar, you're not going to get very far at all.
Right. And, you know, like, I can understand, like, teens aren't concerned about their health in the regard, like, in that regard, like, they're like, oh, I don't have a fatty liver, or I don't even know what a fatty liver is, or I don't know what my gut health is, because you're 15 years old, you have 85 more years left to live. So you'll worry about when you're older. But when you turn 34, like I did, and you had those thought processes prior to that, you signed yourself up for an autoimmune disease, which are born in inflammation. And you hit that in a couple different ways. You have inflammation in your body tries to fight that inflammation. That's where disease is born. So most diseases are born from inflammation. So these are all great nuggets of information to pass on to your daughter or to any teen and say, hey, look, these are visual, actual learning things and how they relate to you. And so I love that. And my daughter, because, you know, like I said, she's on the modified Atkins diet. So we have, she's allowed no more than 20 grams of carbs a day. So that's all of it. So she gets most of her sugars from her vegetables, or I mean, her carbs from her vegetables and from berries. And so there's times where she's like, you know, she's like, I would like to skip my berries today so I can have a little something sweet later today. But that's now. When we first started doing that, it was like, well, I can't have berries and I can't have this. And so
Yeah.
And how, like, those little nuggets are great ways to explain it, because now my daughter realizes that, hey, there's a give and a take here. If I want this, then I have to make a sacrifice later in the day. And so, of course, for my daughter, if we don't do it right, we get a seizure instead. So there's a there's a really good motivator for her.
Yeah.
But I see here in your notes that, some things that you talk about is like, hey, if you abuse sugar, you're going to see it in acne, maybe you're going to see it in weight. And so, for those are relatable things for teenagers. And so I really like that, that's how you break it down. I think that's really helpful for, I think that's really helpful for kids to know and to use. And even thinking back to when I was a teenager and I waited tables, if I wanted to, this is more for money, but it's the same thing. If I wanted to buy myself that $100 pair of shoes, I knew I was going to have to wait on 10 different tables. And to me, I was like, I don't really need those shoes if I have to deal with 10 families. So it's all different ways to look at it. And so we have two people who've commented. We have Susan, who says, hi, hey, ladies. And then Ida commented, she's impressed at how Scarlett is with her carbs. Scarlett is, I'm telling you, the most disciplined person. Like, I mean, if you want to see somebody who really sticks to their diet, that's my daughter. So so let's talk about the impact of sugar on the health of a teen. I tapped on acne, I tapped on weight, but will you please elaborate, because you're the expert, I'm not.
Yeah. Well, whenever again, it's really difficult to have conversations with teens, especially girls, I think, about weight. And so I try never to make it about weight or actually even calorie counting when I'm working with a teen girl. I make it really about serving sizes, and I make it all about choices. And then how often that they eat, throughout the day, I think is important. My daughter, we just got schedules and, for going back to school and everything. And she was really upset because she has, of course, she's a sophomore now, but she eats lunch at 10:30 in the morning. Well, my first thought was, this isn't kindergarten, but so 10:30 in the morning. And so in our house, we eat lots of small meals throughout the day. That's what we do. And so I'm like, oh my goodness, you're going to be starving. So we have to really have a plan for that. Right. And she's like, yeah. I mean, so whenever you're talking to your teen about what are you going to eat, and, regardless if you're homeschooling or going back to school, you have to have a strategy for how often they can eat, because as everybody knows, they're going to hit the front door and go straight for the kitchen. Right. When I talk to teen girls about their skin and acne, I have learned that after that conversation, one of the first things they will do is go Google acne pictures, and then I will get texts from them. Oh my God, I don't want this to happen to me, right? And so sugar has a direct relation on your skin. I mean, hey moms, whatever works, right? But then the other conversations that are really interesting to me, I will start to ask them, do you feel like you're able to focus at school? And I'm telling you, 90% of the time, the answer is no. And so I have conversations with them about how sugar affects your ability to stay focused. And we know that with ADHD kids, right? I mean, we know that refined sugar is terrible for them. And so even for a child that does not have ADHD or ADD, large amounts of sugar will absolutely affect their ability to focus and concentrate. And so we talk about study habits and how study habits related to sugar, how it all kind of plays together. And then just general behavior and social acceptance. So usually a teen will tell me, I know of someone who acts out in anger. And there's a great study that I always refer to. And a study was done of 1,000 juvenile delinquents who were in a juvenile detention center. And they put half of those juveniles on a sugar-free diet, and the other half were on the regular diet in the detention center. And the antisocial behavior decreased by 44% with the group of juveniles that were on the sugar-free diet. And that was no medication intervention. That was pure sugar. So when you start looking and thinking about things like that, I think that one thing that we forget also is, look, I could be talking to a grown man or a grown woman about their habits and how much weight they want to lose. And we start having this emotional conversation. And the first thing they say is, I'm under a lot of stress, or, I've fought depression for a very long time. Well, our teens fight all of that too. And the other thing that we're seeing.
Tonja, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Something. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
So a lack of sleep is a big contributor to weight gain. And we can relate that in teenagers to screen time. So all the Snapchatting and the Instagramming and all of that up until late in the night, and then them not sleeping, it all messes up the metabolism. So sometimes having a health coach for your teen is better, because mom just can't get this across, even though mom may know all of this. My daughter has a health coach, and it's not me. She doesn't want to hear this from me, so and that's okay. So acne is a big thing with teen girls, especially.
Well, acne is a big thing with me. I'm an adult.
Yeah, right. I thought I was done with acne until it came back at 45. And I'm like, what are we doing?
I don't want anything here, or, I spend a lot of money on my skincare. I get really upset when it doesn't work. So, but again, it's my fault because I was eating sugar. So I can't really be upset at anybody but myself. But something that I want to say, and I forgot to say it sooner, is I was actually out. I'm in outside sales. And so I was actually out visiting some schools this week out in Pearland, and 2 different schools I went to. One was a high school and one was a junior high. And literally on property, like as soon as you it was on property, but I know that they don't pay rent to them, but it was on property. Starbucks.
Oh, okay. So I'm so glad you brought that up. So this is water. This is my old Starbucks cup. This is water. Anybody out there, kiddos, or you guys, anybody, like a Starbucks venti mocha frappuccino? It's
who doesn't?
Mocha frappuccino. So that's your little coffee drink with the ice and the whipped cream and all that jazz. So that one drink has 52 grams of sugar. So that is double, right, what we should have in a day. And so whenever you're talking and you're thinking about that, we got in the car one day, and Cameron had one. Again, I'm not slapping her hand. She's got decisions to make, and so she said, "Mom, how much sugar do you think this has?" And I said, "I'm not sure. So why don't you pull it up on your phone?" And I said, "But wait, let's guess. How much do you think it has?" And she's like, "Oh, I don't know. Probably maybe like 20 grams." And I said, "Okay, well, just keep in mind, we're supposed to have like 24 for a day. And, what do you think that looks like?" And she freaked out. She was like, "Mom." And I'm like, wow. So the next time you're at Starbucks, I want you to practice stop, challenge, and choose, and figure out, if you want it, get it, right? But just know that you shouldn't have it 2 days in a row. And you shouldn't go home tonight eating ice cream. But the decision's yours. You've got to make the decision, right? Because I'm not the food police, but you've got to make that decision. And while right now as a teen, your metabolism's running pretty high, but that stops one day. And if you have a breakout on your face tomorrow, it could be because of that, because you've had double the amount of sugar in one drink that you should have for a whole day. So just make the choice that you feel comfortable with. And, sometimes if you want the ice cream, eat the darn ice cream. But I think that instilling that now, giving them the power to choose, I think is really important.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so, these people are targeting kids, seriously, I didn't have a Starbucks outside of any of the high schools that I went to. And so, these manufacturers and these chains, they know what they're doing. They know that as soon, I can imagine that both of those Starbucks pull in money hand over fist during the school year. And I know for sure that you will never catch me at any of those Starbucks because I don't want to deal with a bunch of teenagers.
Yeah.
So going on, you said it affects like focus and behavior. And I just want to say that, my daughter started the diet that she's on, the modified Atkins diet, back in March. And just in the last couple of weeks, my husband, my brother, and I, who have the most exposure to her, we have all noticed that her thinking is more clear. Her speech is more clear. She's always really talked with like a baby, almost like a kindergarten age type of language. She is reaching for words she's never used before, and she's using them in the correct context. And really, for her, I think it's twofold that she's on the diet that she's on, because mental clarity is something that is known for having reduced sugar. Because I know I feel very alert now that I quit sugar again, and I can only imagine what it's doing to repair her brain. And and so we've also seen less behavior issues, and that's a big thing for my daughter. She has a lot of fits. She has a lot of breakdowns where she cannot control her emotions because she doesn't know how to process them. I mean, it's not necessarily she's a bad child or anything. She's just easily overwhelmed because her brain is going through a lot. And so ever since we switched her over to that keto diet and like as she's really become fat adapted, we are seeing so many changes in her. And I'm so blessed to have that, to have this program that we are putting on. So I do think that people would be, that behavior and focus really is a plus. We do have a question. I'm going to try to bring it up on the screen. Let's see. There we go. Sheena asks, any suggestions for simple keto, low sugar snacks? What are your go-to for teens?
Great question. So the program that I coach is not a specific ketogenic program. It's more of a low glycemic program for adults and teens. So go-to for teens, this is such a great question, and I'm going to answer it in two ways. I asked my daughter, I said, she was going somewhere to a little friend's house, and she kept going to this person's house all the time, and a sweet little girl. And I said, so what's so great about going over there? Why don't y'all come here? And she said, they have all the food there. And I said, well, what do you mean? We have a lot of food here. And she's like, no, Mom, like there's bowls of food out, like all this healthy food out. And I was like, oh, okay. So I went and got big bowls, and I said, let's go. Let's. So I've got bowls of fruit out. We have bowls of yummy snacks out. Fruit's definitely a great go-to. My daughter does not eat peanut butter. I wish she did. It would make my life easier, but natural peanut butter, not Jiffy, not, Peter Pan. Natural peanut butter is excellent with apples and bananas and stuff like that. If you can, the program that I coach has over 60 different low sugar snacks to choose from. So when I'm working with a family or a teen or someone, we go through and we actually sit down and do a flavor profile, and we are able to customize what that person likes and make sure that they get the snacks around that. So that's super helpful. My daughter's an athlete, and so one of the things that I learned, and again, she doesn't like peanut butter, so I eat them, you can find so much on Pinterest, but peanut butter protein balls with just all natural peanut butter, chocolate chips, and some honey, and put some oats in there. Amazing. Excellent. We went through a kick at our house where we did frozen fruit bites. So we froze strawberries, we froze berries, we froze bananas, everything that you can imagine. And in the summer, those are great snacks. I would caution everybody to, we've talked about Starbucks and everything, be really careful with smoothies, especially in the summer. We're going into August, hottest month of the year. Everybody likes to have great smoothies. But if you're buying pre-mixed smoothie things at the grocery store, out of the frozen food section, check the sugar, because chances are they are full of sugar. So when we do smoothies at home, my program has smoothies, but we'll do an all fruit smoothie with you've got to be very careful with apple juice, because apple juice is full of sugar, and it's actually very difficult to find true low sugar natural apple juice. So shop at Whole Foods, shop at Trader Joe's for those types of things. HEB, I can't even find it there. And so I always tell people, make your own smoothies if you can, because I've never had great luck trying to find a very all natural, low sugar smoothie out of the grocery store. I just haven't. I tried because I'm all about convenience, but I just couldn't find it. So, I think that if you set your house up and your kitchen up where you've got a big bowl of fruit and different snacks, watch granola bars. You got to really watch granola bars and protein bars, but I can help with that. And also, I have a girlfriend and she does a beautiful job of this. She has found different cheeses that her kids like, and she cuts them up in really funky little shapes. And so, okay, like I don't have time for that, but over the weekend, she's like, I always have cheese and different cheese and turkey sitting out with some fruit. So it's just grab and go. Depending on the needs of your child, I think that if you can try to find snacks and you keep them under 100 calories, that's a really great way to control the sugar intake. But I will tell you that it starts with mom and dad. The kids are going to mimic what you eat. They just are. And my daughter will be real quick to tell me, like, I'm not eating that. Why are you eating that? I'm like, oh, okay. And so it just starts with mom and dad. And I want to, if I can, I just want to mention exercise real quick. I found that with teens, especially teen girls, exercise can go one way or the other. It can go to the extreme really, really fast. And so you've got to have a really slight conversation about that. When I'm working with teen girls, I don't even say the word exercise. I say movement. Let's talk about your movement. How much movement are you getting? Are you going for a walk? Are you walking the dog? I never tell them, how much running are you doing? Or you should go for a jog. Because I have seen situations where families have come to me and that has gone in a really bad direction. And so, our brains release endorphins when we exercise, and teens will take something to the extreme. And so you've got to be really careful when you have the exercise conversation. So I don't even talk about exercise. I talk about movement. And so that's another tip that might help.
I like that. I like how you're very careful with your words, so that way they don't feel like to me, it's almost like nonviolent communication, if you're familiar with NVC. And I mean, really it is, because, you can say, oh, well, she said I need to exercise. Like, how, I don't think am I fat? Do I need it? So using the word movement, I like that you're very careful with the words that you choose, because they have a heavy impact in a positive way. And so that's really important. I really, really like that movement is a word that you choose to use. As far as for my daughter, like as healthy snacks and things like that, what your friend does with the cheese and the meat selection, we do that. We have a drawer that's basically for my daughter in the refrigerator where she can just come in, and she now, we used to pre-portion it. Now she knows her portion. She knows exactly, I can have this many of this thing. I can have, so it's been really good for my daughter. We do hard-boiled eggs. We do the cheese in the drawer. We have pepperoni for her. She really likes turkey pepperoni. We have the 2-gram carb of yogurt that I don't remember what it's called, but that's the yogurt she uses. So there's some really great grab and go options for her. And then we have on the wall, like right across the way from the fridge, is a calendar that we've turned into like a carb counter for her. So that way she can write to or whatever. Something else that we do for her is that we try to take like desserts. So instead of she still wants a dessert. My mom got her in the habit of eating a dessert every single day. Because my mom used to take her for the summer, and my mom was like, well, I want to give my grandbaby, whatever she wants. Yes. And so, because Lord help me, my mom would have been on my butt if I had dessert every night. But anyway, so she got my daughter in this habit. And so now we're trying to think of new and creative ways. So we take flavored sparkling water and we mix it with a little bit of heavy cream, and we do just a squirt of a meal. And we make her an Italian cream soda, and it's low, it's very low glycemic impact. So
Mhm.
there's some really great options out there for everyone. And I do want to say before I forget that we have a giveaway tonight. So Tonja has been really great to offer a giveaway. So she's going to pull it up.
It's in my big box. So
okay. So
there we go.
do you want to explain what it is?
Yes. So this is a 64-ounce water bottle. So, 64 ounces is where we should start with our water. And I tell people 64 ounces is just your minimum. Like that just gets you barely hydrated. I have on my health plan, I encourage 80 ounces a day to start and work up to 100. Dehydration is a huge issue with teens. Huge issue. Starbucks is not hydration.
I was like, if you're drinking ventis of Starbucks, so they don't have to drink water.
Yeah. So I love this water bottle because it's 64 ounces and it's got little motivational sayings throughout the day. And so it's like 1 p.m. is like, let's get it, keep drinking. And it's just fun. It's just different. So we're going to give one of those away.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a giveaway. We want to get to 500 views. So we want you to like and share and comment, and you're going to have to comment #Tonja Moon giveaway, which is written up on the screen for you guys. Water and coffee does not count.
Neither does
if that was the case, if that was the case, you and I would be very hydrated. So, no, you're going to comment #Tonja Moon giveaway. That's your entry. And so once we get to 500 likes and views on this video, we are going to give that away to everybody. So if 50 people comment #Tonja Moon giveaway, we'll do it in a drawing with those names. So it's just something fun for you guys and something just great to have, because we really do need to drink more water. I know that because I'm in outside sales, drinking water is one of my hardest things because a bathroom's not always available and I don't have a bathroom in my car. So that would be really weird if I did. And so, like unless I know there's a CVS somewhere, I can't just go anywhere and do pee munching or anything like that. So one of the things that we also talked about is the ebook you like to discuss. So would you like to talk about that now?
Sure, yeah. So anyone that wants this, I'm happy to email it to you. I utilize a great ebook on when I'm working with families or teens or even just individuals. It's not specific to teens, but they seem to really like it. And it's called Stop, Challenge, Choose. And if you can get in the habit of just having that instilled in your household, stop, challenge, choose. So when you're about to make a food choice, and we typically have this conversation in line at Chick-fil-A, I'll be very honest. Right? Doesn't everybody? So stop, challenge, choose. So I'll say, okay, what do you think you're going to have? And I only have one daughter, but I usually have a carload of girls. But I just have the conversation with my kiddo. And she'll tell me something and I'll say, okay, so I challenge you to make a better choice. And I don't do it in a way to embarrass her. I'm like, I challenge you to make a different choice, because the kids are off the back. And, I'll kind of get either an eye roll or, now she's kind of starting to look at the menu and I'm always going grilled nuggets, grilled nuggets, grilled nuggets. And then I'll say, make your choice and you got to live with your choice. And so this ebook that I have can kind of walk you through that. And there's a lot of really great tips and tricks in it too. So I'm happy to send that to anyone that wants to comment. I just need your email address. Another thing that I like to chat about just real quick is, we got to meet our kids where they are, right? And our kids are in a social media frenzy, especially right now with COVID, right? And so through my program, I utilize with teens and families apps for food tracking, water tracking, and things like that. I used to have teens journal. Boys would never do it. And girls were like, really? And so girls would we would get them the cute journal and we would have a few conversations and it would be very short-lived. But if, tracking, I think, especially with obese teens that I work with, tracking their progress is very important. And so through my program, we actually have an app that we use that helps them track. So it's just right there on their phone. We never make a big deal about it. You know, they can easily do it when they're with their friends or whatever and tracking their water. And then it allows accountability. And it also allows me as the health coach to be able to celebrate really small successes. When I'm working with a teenager, especially a teenage girl, I never talk about the scale. I talk about her non-scale victories. I never ask how much weight did you lose. I don't want that to be the premise. Because everything is a single little choice, right? If they go through and they learn these new habits and they do what I'm asking them to do and they hang with me, the weight's going to come off. And so we really focus on non-scale victories. And so some non-scale victories are when an overweight teen girl can reach down and tie her shoe. That is a big deal. Or she can walk to the mailbox or walk up the stairs at home to her room and not feel out of breath. That is something huge to be celebrated. And so if you can build in really tiny successes and celebrate those along the way, it goes so far with teens, so far. They're smart and they're savvy and they know if you're just trying to kind of BS them. And so when you can say something like, wow, I noticed that I can't keep up with you when we're walking into Target. Like, what's this about? And they're like, oh, I'm sorry, am I walking fast? I'm like, yeah, you never walk. Well, wow, hold on a minute. You know, those are little tiny victories to celebrate along the way. We have the mental capacity to understand how all of this relates to us. Our teenagers don't. Their brains are not even formed yet to be able to handle some of this stuff. This is deep emotional rooted stuff. And so I don't like to talk about weighing. I will talk about measurements. And I will walk them through how to measure, and I'll walk them through, an exercise of once a month or about once a month, checking their measurements and finding success in that. If we do all of those things, I find that teens stay on program longer and we're able to integrate it more into their lifestyle instead of being focused on the scale. I find that when you're focused on the scale, the first thing the teen's going to do is get up and weigh every morning, because the thing you tell them not to do is the thing they're going to go do, right? So that's just a little tip. Hope that helps somebody out there. Again, as moms, we're just trying to do the right thing, right? We're just trying to get through the day and do the right thing for our kids. But they think in very literal terms, right? And a great example of that is asking them to wash the dishes. They're going to wash the dishes, but they may not unload the dishwasher, or they may unload the dishwasher and not put the dishes in the dishwasher. It's just their brains are very literal. And so the whole conversation around weight and food and sugar, it's all taken in very literal. That's why exercises and things like that help.
Yeah, my husband's very literal too. So if I asked him to do the dishes, I would be like, so maybe that's his problem. No.
Maybe so. Maybe it's a non-scale victory. There you go.
Yeah, it's like, oh, good, you did it. No, I agree with that. I am one of those people who will be like, I'm an adult, so I'm just speaking to my adult brain. But if I stepped on the scale every day and I saw fluctuations, which I know is water and, various levels of hydration, bloat, where I'm at my cycle, things like that, I know that even though I know that, I'm like, oh man, it went up half a pound today. Like, what the heck, Yeah. So that's, again, another great tool. And like you said, it all relates back to mom and dad too. So I can imagine that when you're getting the teens built into these healthy habits, you're also helping mom, you're also helping dad. And so then, you have a healthier family for it. Mm-hmm. So I really love that. And let me see, do we have any more questions okay. I just wanted to make sure, because I'm using my phone tonight and I just wanted to, I didn't know if I needed to scroll up. So so looking at your notes here, let me see if I have any more questions. Let's see. I think that I may be good. Are we forgetting to discuss anything?
I don't think so. I think that, no, I don't think so.
We got the giveaway. We've got the ebook. If anybody would like to talk to Tonja about using her program for yourself, or because I know you work with adults as well, right? It's not just teens. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, adults adults, teens, nursing moms, type 1, type 2 diabetics, folks over 65. And then I even have a performance-based program for athletes who are very into running, which I'm not. I don't really, even as a health coach, I don't get the running thing at all. But I actually work with a lot of runners who, want to get their nutrition in shape before a race or something like that. So the foundation of my program is very low glycemic based, and teaching you to eat something every 2.5 to 3 hours to keep your blood sugars in check. So on my programs, we eat 6 times a day, and we can go into it. Not a lot of meal prep. 20,000 physicians have approved our program, and it was actually written by a physician. And so, we just see great, amazing results. Like I said, my husband and I lost over 100 pounds in 4.5 months together. And so that was really kind of the foundation of where all of this started. And when my daughter saw that, and she saw us live that, and she saw us walk through the program literally hand in hand and together, and he and I standing in the kitchen contemplating what were we going to eat that was healthy, it made the conversations around her choices easier. And so I will say that I always suggest that if we put a teen in a household on my program, that we look at mom and dad and see kind of what their eating habits are. And we try to come together as a family to really figure out how are we going to make this work? Because the last thing a teenager ever wants is to be the socially awkward one in the room, much less in the family. And so, we do a lot of heart work. When I work with a teen or a family or an individual, I will say the nutrition part's only 25% of it. Everything else is really all about the heart and the mind. And so it's an amazing journey, and extremely, extremely rewarding. Very blessed.
That is so great. And I just love what you're doing. I love the way that you approach this. And I think anybody who joined your program and partnered with you for a healthy weight loss journey would be in such great hands.
Oh,
and
thank you.
You're very welcome. And if anybody wants to learn more about Tonja's program, just reach out to me if you know who I am and we're connected on Facebook, and I'll put you in connection with Tonja. Or if you know Tonja yourself and this is that aha moment for you, that's great. Reach out to Tonja. And so we want you to live the best version of yourself. If anything, we've all learned in 2020, health is so important, and that oh, I don't know what that was. So if you want to talk to Tonja, we're happy to put you in contact with her. If you would like to join the Warrior Moms community, we would love to have you. Just we've been scrolling it across the bottom, how you can do that and request to join. One other thing, this actually goes outside the realm of Warrior Moms. It focuses more on Unsocially Acceptable. And Unsocially Acceptable is the blog that I am the content creator for. Unsocially Acceptable talks about things that should be talked about, things that social media says, hey, that doesn't fit with a pretty filter. We aren't going to talk about it because it's not pretty. It's not socially acceptable. I don't agree with that. I think that the world needs to discuss things that are incredibly important, and things like mental illness, things like having to have your life turned upside down by a debilitating disease. All these different things we need to discuss because it is all parts of life. And so with that being said, we are working on a show that will it will air in September, and it is about sex trafficking. And it wasn't until I actually talked to Tonja that I was made aware to what was actually going on in the world. I did know that where I live in Fort Bend County, Texas, it is one of the sex trafficking hubs of the world. And so Houston in itself, because Fort Bend is right outside of Harris County, which was the county that Houston is in, it is a huge, huge ground for sex trafficking. And I know there's a lot of stuff going on right now in the world, and sex trafficking has been brought to light. We have the recent arrest of Ghislaine Maxwell, the Jeffrey Epstein stuff, but we are going to talk about what's happening in Fort Bend County. So it's going to be a 2-part episode, and it really does relate to warrior moms in the way that I did not know that special needs kids are basically like, and I know this is a terrible way to phrase it, but it's the most concise way. They're not immune to it. And when my stomach stopped flip-flopping after Tonja told me about all of this, I realized that this is something that we must talk about. It would be negligent of myself and my platform to not bring this up now that it's been brought to my attention. So please, if you're wanting to educate yourself about sex trafficking, reach out to us. Again, we're going to have that episode in September, but we can, if you want to learn more or learn how you might be able to do more, we can also put you in connection with other organizations. And Tonja, did you have, and I'm putting you on the spot with this, but do you have anything you would like to add?
So sex trafficking is, I say that my passion is getting families and people healthy, but my mission is to shine a light in the darkness where sex trafficking is concerned. I'm in Katy, Texas, and I find we are seeing that in suburbs, we feel like we live in a bubble, and actually pimps and traffickers walk among us in the suburbs of where we are. We'll talk about that on the podcast. We've got a great guest lined up that's on the front lines of seeing a lot of these challenges come forward in Fort Bend County. Houston is the #1 spot in the U.S. for sex trafficking. We have Highway 45, Highway 59, and I-10 that are the 3 biggest hubs in the country for sex trafficking. And we are not talking about stories like what you see on Netflix, the show Taken, where someone is grabbed, stuffed in the trunk, and they're trafficked. We're going to dive into grooming and pimps and people being paid within our school systems to groom our kids and convert them into this lifestyle. And you will be shaken to your core. And unfortunately, special needs kids have a huge target on their back because they are incredibly trusting. So, and that makes them very, very, very vulnerable. It is not a challenge just for girls. There has been a huge increase on the price tags of little boys and teenage boys in the realm of sex trafficking. So it's something that needs to be brought to light, that needs to be talked about. And it's just really all about awareness and protecting our kids, because our kids are being targeted, and they're being targeted in the classroom, and they're being targeted by social media. They're being targeted by rings of people coming into our neighborhoods and focusing in on our kids. And unless you're educated about it, you don't know the signs to look for. And so I'm really excited that we're going to talk about this and use this platform, because as just a mom, it is critical that we understand this topic, because it is not going away, and it is actually just growing. Sex trafficking has now surpassed gun running and drug narcotics dealing as the #1 organized crime in the world.
And this is still so shocking to me. And I think even if I was involved, if I had known about all of this to the degree that I know now, I would be shocked 5 years from now or 10 years from now. To me, it's absolutely egregious. And it is something that we are going to talk about. It is something that we are going to discuss. I know that so many, I've created a little ad, not ad, but like a little marketing thing to show people that this is coming up. This is something we're going to discuss. And I've been talking to other people on Facebook and on social media and even in real life about this. And it's something that everyone is just now starting to put together. And I think now is the time to really raise awareness. And so I'm very grateful that you opened my eyes to this. And I hope that we can do it in a way that projects the most amount of information, so that way parents can be prepared as their teens enter high school and things like that, because, or the workforce or whatever, wherever the exposure happens, so that they can be, one, mom can recognize the early signs, or dad can recognize the early signs, or maybe even, you know, our children can be like, hey, wait, this guy seems a little fishy to me now. So right. I appreciate you for being on the show tonight. And not to end on a sad note, like not by any means. I appreciate what you're doing to make the world a better place, both like healthy and in your heart and your mind, and just safer in general. So you've been a great guest tonight, Tonja, and we have the giveaway going. Remember, we want to get to 5,000 views. So please like, share, comment, do whatever else you can do on social media about this. And when we have the giveaway, when we hit the 500 view mark, and I do check because I'm that kind of person. So when we hit the 500 view mark, we'll go ahead and get everybody who commented hashtag Tonja Moon giveaway entered into a drawing, and we will reach out to you if you win. So thank you so much for being on the show tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. And everyone who watched tonight, I want you to stay safe and be kind. All right, thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.